One of the good things, though, about the new qualifying format, we've known from the beginning if you get in a round of qualifying like we did in the Nationwide Series and now the Sprint Cup Series, the qualifying stands. So we have our third fastest qualifier for tomorrow night's 56th annual Coke Zero 400, a career best starting position for Landon Cassill. And Landon's driving the number 40 car for us here this weekend. And Landon, just talk about this qualifying out there. I'm sure there was a lot of cat and mouse going on. It's the number 40 Newtown Building Supplies Chevrolet. A lot of cat and mouse going on. I'm sure your spotters and teams were telling you the rain was coming, and so a lot of different strategy going on out there, wasn't there?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting the way this works out. I've been doing it, pretty much every session because I run the Nationwide Series as well. And in Talladega, I learned a lot because I drive for Johnny Davis Motorsports, and we don't have any major team affiliations, and we really don't even run a big leased engine over there. We just run our own motors. And I made it through all 3 rounds driving the 01 car, and I really learned a lot about just kind of not, since we don't have a major affiliation, just focusing on our own deal and just knowing when you get to the end of pit road, getting an idea of who's forming a line and really just kind of bullying my way in and wedging myself in between 2 fast cars. And so I've kind of kept that in the back of my mind every time I've done this session. The problem with that is it's just kind of a crapshoot. You don't really know how it's going to work out, but it's kind of what I did today. I saw where I was at on pit road. I looked at the pit road qualifying order chart, kind of got an idea of what teams were doing what. Same thing on the Cup team. We don't have any major team affiliations, but we do have Childress engines. And so I kind of paid attention to the Childress cars, and I know they qualified well at Talladega. And I saw that that they were kind of forming a line, and I noticed that their pecking order was kind of in their line of their qualifying draw. And I knew that if I was towards the end of their line that I would probably have a good lap if I could run with them. So I just followed them out onto the racetrack. And we rode around for a handful of laps. I don't know what they were doing. I didn't have any communication with them or anything. I assume that they were waiting for a big group in front of us or something like that. But they just kind of rode around, and when it looked like they were taking off, I hesitated intentionally a little bit to let them get ahead of me. And when we came to the start-finish line, as our cars were up to speed, I was right behind Reed, and we had a nice gap in front of us, and I just pushed him as hard as I could, and we sucked up to the Childress cars in front of us and put up a pretty good lap. So it was a plan that wasn't really a plan, and it worked out, but it's kind of luck. I mean, you still got to know what you're doing, but it's just, if somebody pulls out in front of you or the lead cars check up, there's nothing you can do.
Thank you, Landon. Reed Sorenson has joined us as well, and Reed was the second fastest qualifier for tomorrow night's 56th annual Coke Zero 400. Reed drives the number 36 Golden Corral Chevrolet. And this is your first top 10 start of 2014 and your second top 10 start here in 11 races at Daytona International Speedway. Talk about how the qualifying went for you. Evidently, must have gone pretty good. You're going to be on the outside row there. So just talk about how things went for you, maybe some of the strategy that came into play with the session, knowing that the rain was imminent.
Well, I didn't really know too much about the rain, but Landon was behind me and I was behind the 7, and I had a good idea that Landon was going to stay with me, and I knew I was going to stay with the 7. And I felt like we rode around for 20 minutes going half speed, which was, I don't know if that was part of the plan or what, but we just all stayed in the line and finally took off. And there was actually a gap in front of Landon and I, and the 33 was able to get in between that gap. And when our 3 cars got together, we started catching the pack that had gotten away from us. So that enabled us to run a good lap, and it was right at the right time there.
Thank you. We'll take questions now for Landon or Reed. If you have one, raise your hand. We've got, I think, a couple of wireless mics out there. Chris has one, and we'll go from there. Go ahead.
Chris Knight, catchnuts.com. Reed, can you talk about the damage to the car? Where did that come from, and will it require you to drop to the rear of the field before tomorrow night's race?
No, we'll start up there. Just hopefully we don't have any problems. Once the race starts. There's a lot of breaks. We were probably 8th or 9th in line, and they were going and stopping, and I almost hit Michael in front of me, my teammate, probably 6 or 7 times, and one of the times where I think I actually had to swerve over to keep from hitting Michael. He got into me, which. It's not really his fault. I mean, because I had my foot on the brake the whole time, and like I said, I almost hit the guy in front of me. So it's like a chain reaction. Once the guy in front lifted or got on the brakes, it would just trickle through us, and we had to do it for felt like 10 laps. So it was just something that happened, and as long as we don't get hit there, again, I guess I think we'll be all right.
Questions? Other questions? Kenny Bruce, right here on the front, please. Excuse me.
That was having brake fade.
Oh, you had brake fade?
Oh, I was on it the whole time.
Kenny Bruce for NASCAR.com. For both of you guys, does starting up near the front change your approach to the race any at all as far as what you plan to try to do?
It probably helps my approach a little bit just because we like to run up front for the entire race if we can. For multiple reasons. The biggest reason for me is because we don't typically have the reputation of being fast week in and week out, but we invest everything we have into our super speedway program. And we actually have equipment for this race that's as good as anybody's. And we finished 12th at Daytona and 511th at Talladega. So, and obviously qualified 3rd today. So we've got good equipment. I just need to show the other people out there that how good my car is. So this helps because I'm going to do the best I can to run in the top 10 all day.
Same for me. People have strategies of running the back or run up front, and like he said, for us, even if we started in the back at Talladega, I think we started in the middle of the field. I tried to get towards the front, get our sponsor out there, and it's good for Golden Corral, and we'd like to stay at least in that first group, and hopefully all the trouble is from behind us. So we'll try to stay up front all day and use pitch strategy to stay up there. And, at some points in the race, usually the start, it seems like it's a little calmer in the front. Usually 10th on back is where it gets hairy in the first part of the race. So hopefully we can stay up there and keep it a little safer.
Who else had a question? Dwight?
Dwight Drum, racestake.com. For both guys, Landon, you mentioned that it was like a crapshoot, and you're going into a race that's like a crapshoot. So does that change your strategy? Kind of like similar, as to starting up front.
I mean, I don't know. We all call it a crapshoot, and it definitely is. There's a lot of luck into it. I guess I even said it myself. But I will say that I've been in a lot of these super speedway races, and when I was a lot younger than I am now, and in my first handful of super speedway races, I wrecked in all of them, right? And it was never my fault. I knew it wasn't my fault. The wreck always happened in front of me, or it got into me, or whatever. And eventually I got tired of saying it wasn't my fault. And I really started looking at, what was causing these wrecks and why I was getting in them. And I feel like I found trends and I found reasons and, and stuff that I keep to myself, obviously, but it's just being more of a student of it. So I do think there's ways that you can improve your odds. And I feel like I've had more success since then, but then again, it still can be a crapshoot.
Yeah, everything you said is right. There's I guess for me in the past, usually in certain parts of the race, if I get around people that usually finish up front of these races, like the 48 and guys like that, then try to stick around with some of those guys when you can and start working with them earlier in the race. And maybe by the end of the race, they'll have that respect for you to work together with you towards the end. So that has a lot to do with it as well, I think.
Other questions? Right here, Chris, got another one?
I can hear you.
Just yell.
Landon, what's your sponsorship situation looking like for the rest of the year with Hillman Racing?
I think we only have like 4 or 6 unsold races. We've got NBS Building Supply is going to come on board for like 6 or 7 more races. They're here in Daytona. They've got a lot of energy. Super excited. CarsForSale.com is going to be on board next week in Indy and Talladega in the fall. And they were on my car in Daytona for the Daytona 500 where we finished 12th. So that was pretty cool. They're really pumped. And I'm really excited about Snap Fitness. We just had on a car last week in Kentucky. They're going to be on board in New Hampshire, Chicago, and Kansas. Great brand, really recognizable. Obviously, fitness is a big thing for me, so there's a really good fit there. And I feel bad that I might be forgetting some. We've got CRC Brake Clean is coming back on in Bristol. So we've got a bunch. We've got a bunch of stuff that we're kind of piecing together. We had Gallery Furniture on in Texas. I'm working on them to come back for the other Texas. Yep. So, like I said, I think 4 to 6 maybe unsold races.
Anything else for Landon or Reed? Guys, congratulations. Look forward to watching you guys race tomorrow night. And I guess Landon, both
Thank
of y'all
you.
racing tonight? Landon's racing tonight, so good luck.
Thank you.